letter there.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. So I don't remember how my sister found out about all this. I just remember, obviously, she was also in college at that point, so she came home and we went through the funeral service and all of that. And then we split back. Ardith's parents were more supportive, I think, than anyone else. They didn't know what to do. Her mother just told me how sorry she was. Her father didn't express emotion much, but it was clear they were there for me if I needed them. And of course, Ardith was always there. So that my senior year, things were kind of testy with my father. He was under a lot of pressure. He was very sad. Um, his patience, I'm sure, never knew, but those of us in the family felt it um, when we were together with him. So he made it a bit of a chore to for me to leave him. He never said no, but he always drew it out so that I had to sort of kowtow a little bit. My approach, I think, was sort of passively aggressive. I did everything I could to help him at home. I took care of the cars. I got the oil changed. I got the maintenance stuff done. I put on snow tires or snow chains in the winter, which is what we did in the 60s, late 50s, 60s. I did little chores for him that he wanted, washed the cars, that sort of thing. And that I figured was my ticket to being able to borrow the car, which he always allowed me to do after stringing me along a little bit. So then, if Ardith was home, we'd go out, come back. Sunday morning, Ardith on Sunday would go back to school. I'd go back to school, and Father would take me, drop me off Sunday mornings. Those were quiet rides, very quiet rides to school and back. Came graduation. My father didn't attend my college graduation. And I think there may be several reasons. He said he had some sort of call, excuse me. But there were several things going on during that year. Besides, this was the year, of course, I was applying to medical schools. And he was a graduate of Hahnemann, and I knew that the idea he had in his mind was for me to graduate, do my postgraduate training, and come back into practice with him, which is the last thing I wanted to do. But I couldn't tell him that, or I decided not to tell him that. And so I applied to Hahnemann and to Penn, University of Pennsylvania, figuring I knew I'd get into Hahnemann because as a child of an alum, I had a leg up and my grades were good enough. I was pretty sure I'd get into Penn. My advisors at Lafayette suggested that I should apply to Harvard. They said they thought it was a long shot, but that I might get into Harvard. And where I really wanted to go was Case Western Reserve. So I applied to all four. I got quickly accepted at Hahnemann and Penn. I got interviewed for Harvard and was told several weeks later, I got a note saying, congratulating me on being on their alternate list. It is, so I wasn't in the first string, but I had a shot at getting in. And came out for interviews at Case and got in out here. So rather than saying I've been turned down by Harvard, I wrote to Harvard, said thank you very much, but I've been accepted elsewhere and I think I'll go there. And accepted Case. there are two problems with that. One, of course, it wasn't Hahnemann in Philadelphia, which would be close to Easton, about 50 miles away. This is 350 miles away to come to Cleveland. And the second part was my aunt and uncle live in Berea. They were like second parents to me. My aunt was my mother's younger sister. My uncle was Danish extraction, born in Denmark actually, and came over as a child. And he was a service representative, I think they were called at that point, for electronic medical equipment, electrocardiograms, operating room equipment, stuff like that. So he kind of knew a bunch of doctors, and he had a toe in that area, but he was really a salesman, repairman. He was around to keep things running. Once he'd sold them, he serviced
could you
them
let
as well.
the monkey in?
Mm-hmm. So he had a salesman personality, very kind, very outgoing, very socially interactive. They didn't have any children, and of course, I knew them my whole life, and we'd come out to visit them several times. And
This was your mother's brother?
my mother's sister
Mother's sister.
and her husband.
Yeah.
And this was a real problem for my father, because it was clear that you can't have that I responded to them the way I think, my interpretation, that he wished I was responding to him. I was not capable of responding to him the same way. So we sort of agreed that in many ways these two became a second set of parents for me, an alternative parent. And we became very close to them, and they were an integral part of our lives.
What were they like? Tell me a little bit about what they were like. What were they like?
What were they like?
Yeah, personality traits.
Well, my uncle was outgoing. He could be a clown. I have pictures of him clowning around in many different settings. I have lots of pictures of them because we spent a fair amount of time with them. We traveled with them.
Did you have fun with them?
Much, yeah, absolutely.
And you really liked your mother's sister?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Well, you probably were really special to her. That's always the case.
Yeah.
Is to the sister.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, they didn't have kids of their own,
Yeah.
so they essentially adopted us in adolescence, a little beyond as young adults. So we had a history with them that went on another 20 years after that, until they
Well, that
died.
was a good thing.
It was a very good thing. So they were a place of refuge for us out here, and they were a support system built in, to what was a very, I don't want to say traumatic, but certainly a bit of a stressful experience for us, newly married, come out here, etc. So you'll hear more about them as we go on. So then my father had to deal not only with me choosing a medical school that was not the one he would have preferred, but I also, at the time of graduation, and Ardith and I got married right after we graduated, so middle of June of our graduation year, we were married.
That was a big decision too.
Mm-hmm.
We'd known each other 7 years at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about this a lot. I spent a lot of time letting Ardith know what a doctor's life was like, saying, I'd seen it, remember, I've seen that, my own family. I said, I can get called out at night, I can be delayed, can you handle that? Full disclosure, think about this carefully before you commit.